Justin Lehmiller is a researcher, a friend of mine, has a lovely book called Tell Me What You Want. We actually published some research on cuckolding together. Justin suggests that around 45% of men may have fantasized at least once about their wife or girlfriend being with other men, them watching them or not. But it is far less common for women to fantasize about their husband being with other women.
Okay. Dr. Lee, to that end, I was about to ask you, how common is this desire and how common is the implementation? So you said 45% at one point. But like anything else, when it comes to fantasy, there can be a fantasy that is a one-off, it's
Absolutely.
fleeting, it's a thought, and then there can be fantasies that people have which are more thematic. So again, in your estimation, as a thematic fantasy, how common would something like cuckolding, some of the variations that you described, how common would that be in fantasy? And then how common is this in implementation?
Uh, Generally, again, I'm going to go with Justin's numbers, particularly on fantasy, that around a third to almost half of men report some interest in this fantasy. Is it their favorite fantasy? Less so. I would say probably around 10%. In terms of making it a reality, we kind of don't know. Is because cuckolding, and it's a little historical offshoot. I know you read this in the book. Cuckolding, the term cuckold, historically was really pejorative, and a cuckold was a man whose wife was cheating on him and he didn't know, and he was humiliated. He was viewed as a weakling and made fun of in historical society. Shakespeare referenced cuckold in lots of his plays, and it was never a good thing. Cuckolding historically was non-consensual. Modern cuckolding is consensual, but because there is such a history of stigma and shame around it, a man whose wife is having sex with other men, people are going to assume, oh, well, you must have a small or you aren't any good in bed, or you're not a real man. And so the practice of this has historically been very, very secretive, and it's only in really recent times. I mean, I published that book in 2009, and at the time, nobody was really talking about this, and I was amazed when I wrote the book at how prevalent it was historically, and what a kind of culture or community there was here, because it wasn't public. It is much more public now. As you said, it is one of the fastest growing kind of genres of people are talking about it much more publicly, hearing about it. I mean, and then there have been these scandals. Jerry Falwell Jr.
Mm-hmm.
Is a really good example, and there's a documentary about him, I think on Hulu or something, about his scandal of him getting caught watching his wife with a pool boy, which is just almost something you feel like you can't make up.